Today I'm in Utrecht. I'm at Rabobank and I'm going to speak to Anton Jan Cozijnsen, Area Lead Global Fraud. He has 27 years of experience. What does these decades of experience bring him in his role as fraud leader? Join me for an exciting episode of Fusion Fireside. My name is Ewart Driehuis. Anton Jan, you just returned from India. And India is, of course, a very different country than the Netherlands. Is there anything that gave you inspiration for how the banking situation in the Netherlands is different than in India?
Well, thanks for asking. I indeed was for a little bit over a week in India, enjoying a personal holiday with my girlfriend. So we really enjoyed the weather. It's summer there at the moment. So I was trying to not to think about my work, but coming from the airport, in the taxi, I saw a huge billboard where the government warned people about scams, and especially AI scams, where I think in India they also have that kind of scams. So then I thought of my work. I thought, well, do we have the same MOs, for example, here? And I think, yes, we do. So I think it's an international business, and also the criminals that our clients are facing and are attacking our clients, I think are not only Dutch, but also, for example, from India or that region. So then I thought about that, yes. Yeah.
That's quite interesting, isn't it? I don't think in the Netherlands, for example, we are warning people specifically about AI scams, or are we?
No, there's no specific advertisement, for example, per MO. I think with the Dutch Banking Association, the Nederlandse Vereniging van Banken, we try to warn people and to make them aware. So it's a real awareness campaign, but it's more in general. Sometimes specifically targeted more at age groups, for example, at young people who tend to be very nice. They are clickbait, so to say, and sometimes at the elderly, but not per MO indeed. No.
That's interesting. I know that specifically a few years back, we had a little bit of a demographic idea that the elderly were targeted more than younger people. Is that still true as far as you're concerned, or is that leveled out?
No, it has not leveled out, but as I mentioned, I think so. The elderly are more attacked than people who are younger. Yeah. But in general, also really young people who install apps, not like us, so at our age, I think. So they install, they click, they just do. They are very tech savvy, but not very fraud aware. So that's the second group that we see. And for example, we do also have TikTok movies, for example, as a Rabobank specific, really targeting the youth, also with the language that they use. So we see two main groups. Yeah.
Oh, that's very interesting. And everyone in between. So it's kind of they're avoiding the being targeted, so to speak.
Yeah, I think they are more aware of that it can be they can be attacked by fraudsters. Yeah. Yes.
Maybe trust levels are a little bit lower, or maybe it's just their tech savviness is a little bit lower, and
I think so. I think that's the case.
Might be true.
Yeah.
So Anton Jan, you've had an amazing career in Rabobank, right? So you've worked here for 27 years, or is it 28 already?
Almost 28.
Almost 28.
Yeah.
There you go. So how does it benefit you to be so at home and knowledgeable about different sides of the bank to do your job?
Yeah, I think it really benefits this, because in my current job, which is, by the way, the nicest job in the bank that I've had, I think in total I've had 10 or 11 roles. So it really benefits me, because one of the jobs I did for 7 or 8 years is the head of Euro payments. So I really know how payments evolve, about payment schemes, about risks, for example, about what the DNB, the Dutch National Bank, asks, etc. That really helps me understanding the technique behind what we are doing. And when I started within the bank, by the way, with a mathematical background, I started in the IT department. And of course, our work is, beside data science, which is mathematics, also IT. So knowing both worlds and having the experience of for example, payments, that really helps me understand what the people in my team are facing and what the challenges are. So I understand what I, in my role, can do to help them.
Yeah.
So yes, that really benefits me. I think. Yeah.
So what made you say yes to this new challenge of heading the fraud management, fraud detection team?
Yeah. Before being in the financial economic crime department, I worked, as I mentioned, within payments and savings department. And there I saw a little bit of fraud, especially the old kind of fraud, where we had the paper forms that people send in, and the old kind of fraud by using Tipex, for example, and doing the writing themselves. So then I thought, well, this is interesting, and I had done that job for I think 7 years, and then I started talking to the people from financial economic crime at that time within the compliance department, and I said, well, this looks interesting. Can I maybe help you? And after doing a short job there for 2 or 3 months, they offered me a job and say, can you lead our at that point, the data science department, which was at that time, that's about 9 years ago, relatively small. But they said already, well, this is going to be big. And I think now we have a huge financial economic crime department with, multiple times as much data scientists as we have. And then they said, well, we are going to reorganize it. We are putting all the IT staff, data science staff, and other people involved in fraud and making the models together. And they said, can you lead that? And I said yes, because I think it's a very interesting topic. Yeah.
That's amazing, because it's on the bridge, if you will, between customers, technology, payments. It's pretty much everything that you ever, let's say, trained for in all those decades.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And what I really, really like about this job is that, as you mentioned, we are really we see directly how our clients are targeted by fraudsters, and our impact is also immediately. So when we change our model, because we miss some type of frauds, we can in one day change our model, and the same afternoon we are stopping and protecting our clients. And that's what I personally really like about my job.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you must have seen so many cases, right? Is there a specific case which you sometimes think about?
Yes, there is indeed one specific case that I really still think about. At a certain moment, we joined all the forces within the bank who were working on fraud, as I mentioned, together. And then I thought, well, I would like to speak personally to a client who has been defrauded. So we selected a specific client in the south of the Netherlands, and I said, well, it would be nice if we can call this client. And it was interesting. It was very interesting because he recorded the whole phone conversation with the fraudster. So, and I really wanted to hear also that recording. So I called him, and he started laughing. He thought it was a family member who made a joke of him, because everyone around him, of course, knew he was a victim. And then secondly, he thought, well, it's not family. Probably it's the fraudster again. So I had to call him a second time and give kind of proof that I was from Rabobank, because he was very aware at that time. And then at a certain moment, said, yeah, you can join me. And
good for him.
Yeah, it was good for him. And then we, together with a colleague, we drove to Landgraaf in the south of the Netherlands, and we were invited, and they were sitting on the couch in their home, and they were victim of fraud, bank helpdesk fraud. It was so they have been called by the Rabobank, which was in fact the fraudster. But what really struck me is what the impact is personally on these people. So it was a man and his wife, because he mentioned to us he was still very suspicious anxious even when he walked the dog outside. He was still looking around him because he thought, well, I can be defrauded every time. So that's a very specific case that still is with me. How we used this, we showed this recording to all the people in my department. And of course we are working with numbers and statistics and data science, etc. But every single fraud that we see in our statistics, of course, has a story like this behind it. And people, it actually opened their eyes. Said, well, this is why we do it. So we got a lot of positive comments about this. And in the movie that we showed to the colleagues, we also had the phone conversation with the fraudster and our client in it. So it's still very amazing. Sometimes we even show it again. This was, I think, 4 years ago. Yeah.
I think that's a very good point. I don't think we're talking enough about how scams and fraud have an impact on the victim. It has an impact on the bank, but for sure it has an impact on society as well. If you're losing your confidence and trust as a victim, like you said, it's not just the banking channel. You're walking your dog, as you said, and we don't talk about that enough, maybe.
So the impact indeed on the clients. Our data scientists, for example, look at the files and they see what the client has said to the agents they talk to, and they are really concerned. And sometimes, of course, we miss a fraud. Yeah. And I also see that has impact on the people in my team, because we really want to catch all the frauds. So I think we are aware, and I think in our team we talk about it. But I think together with other banks, I think it's a subject we don't talk a lot about. Yeah.
And in that regards, I think the banks might be on the front lines, because social engineering, of course it's a lot about money, but it happens far wider than just in banking, right? As our worlds, our lives are becoming ever more online, they're social engineering us for our information, they're social engineering us for our money. So and you're on the front lines there.
Yeah, we are on the front line. It's always, for example, we see also a lot of purchase fraud, for example. Do we have a role in that? Yeah. But it's also sometimes an internal question, because should we stop it? Is there a role for the bank? Yeah. Because people are also defrauded, buying something they don't get. Yeah. And sometimes we can quite easily recognize it, especially when people are going to call the bank. Yeah. We know this is fraud, and the data scientist can make a model out of it. So, but it's a more fundamental question sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we are always in the middle, because in the end it's always about money. Yeah. And that's our business.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So a few weeks ago, I sat in a workshop which you led. And it was super interesting, because we were analyzing a scam MO, which involved coaching on financial investment coaching. Yeah. And I thought that was such an interesting MO, because it was a variant on a known investment fraud MO, which was very interesting to me. Could you explain to me again what you saw then and how that works?
Yeah. Yeah, investment scam, I think it's in the top 3, of course, of what we see, at least with our clients. Some people have money, they want to make more money of it. I think that's okay. And you can put it on an interest account. We don't pay a lot of interest, as you probably know.
Should we cut this out?
No, you shouldn't. No, it's not. No, it's not a problem. So they are looking for example, investments in crypto, and what they see ads everywhere on Facebook, on Instagram, etc. And they see ads for a course. So so the fraudsters say
a training, if you will.
A training, indeed, a training. So they buy a training where they can learn how does crypto work, how can I make a wallet, how can I do that, and how can I invest and get the most out of it. So they see examples from their teacher, so to say, and they pay for it. For example, what we often see is 200, 250 euros. And after that, the coach, so to say, well, now the course is ended, but I can help you invest your money. And at that time, our client has spoken already for hours with that person. So there's a kind of trust between the coach and our client. And very often, through social engineering, of course, the fraudster already knows what the capital is the person has, what he wants to invest, etc.
So they've done the reconnaissance already on the...
Yeah, that's already done.
That's amazing.
Also already done there. And at that moment, I say, I can help you make a lot of money. You only pay me a small fee. And then it starts. So, and then they're lured, literally lured into this scam.
Yeah.
And they make a wallet with two people who are having access to it. And they're starting to have money. Sometimes a real wallet, sometimes a fake wallet. So what you also see is fake wallets with fake numbers. So you see a lot of money. And that's how it starts. And the interesting part is there's so much trust between the fraudster, so the coach, and our client. Then when we stop a single payment, for example, sometimes, and we call the client and say, well, you're highly likely to be defrauded. So no, I am investing. I want you to do this payment for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes after a week, sometimes after a month, they call us back and they say, oh, indeed, you were right at that moment.
Yeah.
We've been defrauded.
Yeah.
So that MO we see is on the rise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. And the reason why I found it super interesting is because I just spoke to an expert on the Chinese phishing triad who told me that as we speak, thousands of WhatsApp groups are being provisioned in order to ready themselves for exactly this kind of MO. So it is social engineering and trust abuse, but again, it also depends on being supported by sometimes benign infrastructure and sometimes, as you say, malicious apps and malicious infrastructure. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yes.
So looking at 2026, is there anything that you are really worried about? Is there something that you're prepping? Is there something you can tell about your team's priorities?
Yeah. Yes, of course I can share something because a few years ago our models, I think, were already doing quite well. But at this moment we are building and developing and it's already in pre-production, really advanced AI model. So that's where we as a bank use AI. It's a very advanced and sophisticated model, which also recognizes the type of fraud just mentioned, like investment scam, long-term frauds that start with small payments, etc. So I think, so that's on our side. So we are going to rebuild all our models to that level. And actually this quarter, the first quarter of 2026, we're going live with that model and we're going to evaluate that, of course, and make it even better by the end of this year. So that's our priority at this moment. What we see on the fraud side, I think, fraudsters are also using AI. And I think they mainly at this moment use it to make it more scalable. So I think the MOs are not that different, but it's much more scalable. You don't need a person who is typing the message, for example, the investment message, but you can also make a bot for an AI bot who does the work for you. So instead of targeting maybe 5 persons a day, you can make it 500 persons or even, you can scale it up even more. Yeah. And also 24/7 and also globally, all over the world. So I think the scalability is a very important point here. Yeah, and of course, in the Netherlands we have the ideal payments. We are going to Wero, which is a European initiative. It's always going to be used, so we are really aware of the misuse of that information. And for example, it's a really Dutch example, but the tax office, the Belastingdienst, is going to have their tax bank account within Rabobank this year. There will be a lot of communication, but also fraudsters are going to misuse that.
Yeah.
So we are very aware of that too. Yeah.
Right, so that's an event for fraudsters to latch on to, like our bank account has changed, and
yeah. So they have heard something about the tax office who has changed something, and fraudsters are going to use that information to send the wrong message, malicious messages. Yeah.
It's interesting what you said a few minutes ago about your model being able to look at the longer term, because the other day I was in a panel discussion. And someone explained to me how it was sometimes difficult to spot investment fraud because it's not just one big transaction, but it is multiple transactions over weeks or months. So they become part of behavior, right? And I think is that the difficulty that you're addressing?
Yeah, that's absolutely the difficulty because it starts with small payments, and a payment of €10, is almost never a fraud, and when it's indeed integrated in that behavior, your models start to think this is normal.
Exactly.
And our data scientists were able to develop a model that we still can see that it is not normal behavior when you look at it at a bigger scale. So it is maybe part of your behavior, but it's not normal behavior, and we can check that and see that at this moment. Yeah,
that's amazing,
and that is really amazing. Yeah.
That is really cool. I bet a lot of people are going to give you a call if they see this. Anton Jan, how did you do this?
Yeah. So even in the development phase, so it was a really 0.5 version of the model. We had a data set put through it, and we found a fraud with that specific model, which was not found by our current model. And we gave a call to the people who are calling our clients. Can you check? And it was fraud. So even in the development phase, it was already performing well. Yeah. So, and I think actually in the Netherlands we do share a lot, by the way. So the NVB, the Dutch Banking Association, has a working group detection. A lot of banks are a part of, the most banks in the Netherlands are part of that. And there we share MOs and also how we address them and what we can do to stop them.
Yeah.
So we do share a lot of information there.
Yeah, I think that's critical.
Yeah.
It's I think the Netherlands, I think for decades already, have that understanding and that agreement with each other not to compete on security, and even to collaborate on security, haven't they?
Yeah. So working together with banks is, of course, in general a problem. Because you can't cooperate, you can't. So the interest rates you decide yourself about them, for example. But there's one example indeed, and that's for fraud. And I'm really happy with that, and I think the cooperation is going very well on this part. Yeah.
It's interesting because in some parts of the world, fraud resilience of a bank is starting to be, let's say, a unique differentiator, right? For example, in the UK, they publish lists on the reimbursement rates. So if you really want to be secure, even if you're scammed, you're going to get your money back in 98% of the times at that bank. What do you think about that, coming from that paradigm of collaborating on fraud rather than competing on fraud?
I think you should always collaborate, because I think in the end, you're talking about trust in the payment system in general. So not a trust in Rabobank or a trust in ABN or ING. It's a trust in the banking system as a whole. So I think, and the best way to address that and to help building trust, I think, is cooperation. We are a cooperative bank, the Rabobank, as you probably know. So it's in our nature, but also the colleagues from the other banks on this specific topic are really collaborating. And for example, looking at the UK, it's of course a different situation there, because almost all fraud is reimbursed there. And they think by publishing this will help. But I think fraudsters read the statistics too, and they can see the bank who is performing worse. So they also can see what to attack. So I personally don't think it's very smart to publish this.
Yeah.
But people can think differently about that.
Yeah. Well, that's great, and it sparks another discussion maybe about outgoing and incoming fraud, right? So that's another thing which is really interesting, which we haven't touched at all today, but we'll need to leave that for another conversation, I think, Anton Jan.
Yeah.
So for Threat Fabric, this was Ewart Driaes with Anton Jan Cozijnsen. If you want to check more episodes of Fusion Firesides, check out www.threatfabric.com/fusion-fireside.